All right, so good evening and welcome to I'm Posted to the GTA, Now What? I'm Kathleen from the Toronto MFRC. I'm the family navigator here, and I'm here with my colleague Joanne. Joanne, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Joanne O'Connor, and I'm the community engagement coordinator.
All right, so tonight we are going to connect you with some resources that are going to help you in your relocation to the Greater Toronto Area, give you some tips and tricks, and a whole lot of information and links. So please know that this video will be on our YouTube channel. We will send you a link to our YouTube channel at the end of this session, and both posted under the YouTube video and in an email that the live participants will get later. You'll have all of the links and the slideshow available to you. We'll share all of that with you. So I will pass over to Joanne to open us up and introduce we've got some great special guests tonight to help us navigate the GTA.
Okay, so our first speaker tonight is Nicole Norton. She is a woman who wears many hats. She is on our board of directors here at the MFRC. She's a military spouse, and she's also a real estate agent. So Nicole, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't know that you knew actually all that even about me, but you guys know everything. Thank you very much. So yes, as Joanne said, I am a military spouse. I'm a Toronto native and a realtor in Toronto in the GTA, as well as the outskirts. I have been some time, but I've also been posted back and forth several times out of Toronto and back to Toronto. So I've had the full experience of having to move here back and forth several times. So for my part, really we thought we would just quickly go over some of the housing prices in the GTA, specific to leasing. Of most of the military families that I work with, I would say probably 80 to 90% end up leasing when they come to Toronto, mostly because of the prohibitive housing prices. That being said, there are a small percentage of people that do decide to buy and invest in Toronto real estate, but we will be focusing more on the rental market because it is the most prevalent for our military families. There are no military residential housing units in Toronto. And housing is expensive. The rental rates you'll also find, I'm sure, depending on where you come from, are quite a bit more pricey. And once again, that's reflective of the cost and price of real estate and the fact that it's prohibitive for so many people. The slide here says it can be helpful to work with a real estate agent. I'm obviously biased being one, but it is very helpful working with a real estate agent in rentals. And that's not just for people relocating to Toronto. Honestly, the average person in Toronto when they're moving finds that it's very helpful to have somebody working for them. There is no cost to someone using a realtor through Brookfield. BGRS has a list of approved agents, both rental agents and purchasing agents. When you are posted in, whether you're using someone for a rental or to buy, there is no cost to you. But there's also no cost to anybody looking to use an agent to rent a property. So it is something that most people choose to use to help navigate the market. It has a lot of complexities, and there's a lot of innuendos and a lot of paperwork, to tell you the truth. So we'll go through some of that paperwork after we go through some of the pricing, but we definitely recommend working with a realtor just to get a grip on the city, also because of its scope and its size. Toronto is characterized by many different boroughs, and each different borough has different prices, different housing types, and it's a lot of information, even for someone who's lived here their whole lives. So we definitely recommend working with someone that's been in the area for a long time. This slide here just gives you a little bit of information on lease prices, how they've gone up, how they've gone down, year-over-year changes in average rent. Really, the reason we have this posted here is to give you a general idea of the pricing. 2020 in Toronto, we can see the average pricing here was about $2,528. 2021, we actually did see a little bit of relief once COVID started in the pricing in Toronto in the rental market. It did help. At this point now, we're reporting this is April 2022, we have seen prices rebound back to their sort of pre-COVID level. and expect that they will continue to rise. Housing market has been strong, and that's really what's driving our rental market. So definitely you will see prices up here back to the pre-COVID rates. Perfect. The next slide that we wanted to show you here was just to give a little bit of idea. There are many areas that you can commute from. Whether you want to be close to Denison, whether you're posted in for JCSP and you're looking at being close to Yonge and York Mills there are different places that you can live and that are very convenient to commute into the city for. Depending upon where you're from, that commute time may be different for you, but we definitely recommend, and I definitely recommend to anybody that's being posted in, that they sort of think about what their average commute time is. Use Google Maps, and at the time of day that you would be commuting in Toronto, see how far that distance is and do it more than once, because the day you do it might have just been a really good day for traffic. Maybe it was a sunny day and a lot of people took transit. Do it a few times. Try to do it 3 days within that week. If there's a huge accident all 3 of those days, there's probably a huge accident many days, and that's just the average time for your commute.
That's such a good point, Nicole. I found when I moved here, I arranged for my kids to go to school 10 kilometers from my house. And I was like, 10 kilometers, that's nothing.
So close.
10 kilometers through like right into town in Toronto is forever. So yeah, that's a really good point.
10 kilometers on the 401 could be forever. We have a saying like Toronto is 1 hour from Toronto. Like it's, you're in traffic, it can be completely messed up. So the flip side of that is obviously the further that you live from the epicenter, the lease rates go down. And in many cases, the properties get really lovely. Average is just using the average number. 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, the average price. This slide that you see here posted has 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. We've divided out the prices a little bit, but when you say average, they're literally looking across all housing types. If you are interested more in this information, Treb does break down these stats by 2 bedroom, both freehold as well as apartment. There's not a lot of difference in those 2 numbers. Also, even within these areas, and for example, I'll take an area like downtown. Downtown encompasses almost 18 Treb areas, and all of those areas have different standards and averages. So this is really just meant to give you a general idea on pricing. If you are posted in, look at these areas a little bit closer, but we could break down these numbers quite a bit more, specifically when we're talking about downtown North York, which is a very popular place. You know, it's close to Denison, so a lot of people living in North York, but different prices within the North York area. So really all this is meant to show you is that, you know, a 3 bedroom is going to be costing you $2,500 to $3,000, and then you can look at the pricing down. Above and beyond that, if you're looking at coming into Toronto IR, which does happen commonly, one of the big things to work with a realtor is there are some areas that just don't even have that property type available, to be honest with you. Bachelor or 1 bedroom apartments aren't in all of the areas. They're not prevalent housing type. So just another thing to keep in mind, even if you think, yeah, like I could definitely drive in from Caledon, no big deal. You're not going to find suitable IR housing in Caledon. It just doesn't particularly exist. So once again, work with someone that knows the areas. These prices are just to give you a general idea.
There's just one in the chat. There's a question, which I think you answered most of. There's one sort of add-on is, how about parking options with rentals? Does that add to the average cost? Is that often an additional cost? What does that look like with different types of housing in the GTA? Would you?
It's on, if you're looking at a condominium, or an apartment, let's say a condo or a condo apartment, yes, generally there will be an elevated cost to have parking included. Many of the homes will just have parking. Right. Above and beyond that, a lot of places, as per area specific, will have Toronto city permit parking, which is very cost effective. And so even if you're looking at a place and you really like it and it doesn't have parking available, just because parking is not available right on the property doesn't mean parking may not be available. Okay. Which is a thing that a lot of people actually don't know. The cost of Toronto permit city parking is $200 a year. So oh, wow. Just the availability of it is very dependent on area. So once again, working with someone that can help advise you in that way. Mm-hmm. The last thing I quickly want to go over is what would you need to apply? Let's say you're applying for the Toronto rental market, just to give you a quick idea. This is an incredibly evasive process, applying for a rental in Toronto. Everybody says it, it's very, very accurate. The documentation also takes a while to accumulate. And so we always recommend that people get a little bit of a jump on it. So first and foremost, we have a standard application in Ontario. It's a great document, has all the information that your landlord's going to need. And I will be sending that over to Kathleen. Anybody that's interested in getting that information or that document, you can ask her. And we always recommend people take a look at that beforehand. You know what your landlords are going to be asking. You can pre-fill in that information, done, right? You could just change the address at the top if you're applying for multiple units. The second thing any landlord is going to ask for is a credit report, a full credit report, not just the score, a full credit report. Right now, the only place that you can pull that from is a site called, it just changed, borrowell.com. Maybe I'll put that in the chat once I'm done speaking. I'll put the exact website. That is an Equifax credit check. You do want to do the credit check yourself. When you pull that credit check yourself, it does not, it's a soft check. So it's not going against your credit. All applicants on the rental application will require a credit report, a full credit report, not just the score. We get a lot of people applying with scores all the time. We have to send them back, do the full report. A job or income letter for anybody that's working in the civilian world. Go to your HR department, ask about that. You can go ask the clerks for that. If you are self-employed, notice of assessment for the previous year is currently what we're using as a suitable. There are other ways that you can prove your income. Screenshots of your bank account is not unusual for landlord to ask for. Once again, I know, incredibly evasive. I always give tenants the option for it and say like, but you're not obligated in any way. A lot of people are like, yeah, no problem. We'll just send. So if you don't if you're self-employed, you don't feel like you have a way to provide income, that's a way. It's an acceptable way, but do not feel like you have to do that, even if a landlord asks, because it is sort of like one step above and beyond. Landlord references, always super helpful. Wherever you are now, ask your landlord for a reference letter. It's a great thing to have accompanying your application. And last but not least, I'll spend about 3 minutes on pets. Pets are a big thing, especially depending on where you're posted in from. Landlords are not allowed to discriminate against a tenant for having a pet. Regardless of that, landlords discriminate against tenants for having a pet all the time. So what do? A lot of people say, you know what, just don't tell your landlord that you have a pet because they can't do anything about it. Like once you move in, they're not allowed to evict you for having a pet. So just don't disclose the pet to begin with. Bad advice, A, because you don't want to lie. B, your landlord cannot do anything about you having a pet, but if you misrepresent on your application, that can become a sticky situation and they can go to the LTB and they can, and like it can unravel very quickly. So on our team, we go the opposite with it, guys. If you have a pet, it sounds crazy, but the pet's on the application. Get a picture of the pet looking as small as possible with your family, and that comes with your application. If you have a dog walker saying, this dog is great, doesn't play with other dogs, super quiet dog. If it goes to doggy daycare. If you, once again, your landlord reference, if your landlord can say, this pet has lived here, we've never had any complaints about barking, the dog has not wrecked anything, great thing to have. And then last thing is a landlord cannot ask for this. They cannot ask for a pet deposit. We recommend to people, if you have a dog, to offer a refundable pet deposit is a show of faith towards your pet saying, look, I know my pet, I know I don't have to offer you this, but I'm going to because I have confidence in my pet and it's refundable. So if your pet does not destroy anything, you get that money back. People ask me all the time, what is a average pet deposit? It would be relative to the amount of damage the pet could do. So a cat, maybe it's $200. Medium-sized dog, maybe it's $500. You have 3 Rottweilers, maybe it's like $1,500. And it's whatever you're comfortable with because you are offering it. But the compensation that we look at is essentially what the pet could possibly destroy in the period of time that they're there. And that really finishes up my part on real estate.
Great, thanks so much, Nicole. So a very important piece following up on the cost of living here is we are so thankful to have the orderly room here represented by Master Corporal Choi. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
All right, thank you. So I'm Master Corporal Choi, and I'm one of the HRAs here at 4 CSB Per Service Toronto. Do you have the PowerPoint up?
So I don't have your PowerPoint. Can you?
Oh, no? How would I
Let him have control of the screen. Oh, no, you don't. It's got his own.
Okay, exactly. I'm using my cell phone here. You know what? We'll just go without it, and then I can send you guys a PowerPoint.
No, hold on. I can add it. I just hadn't added it in because I wasn't sure if we could make it totally public, but here's what I will do. If you just give me one moment, you can start speaking and I will pull it.
All right. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly talk about what our OR is responsible for and just a few general points regarding posting allowance and PLD. So our OR is the unit record services and primary pay office for all the Reg Force member posted into Toronto, the GTA, London, Windsor, and the Hamilton area. So if you are being posted into one of those areas, please do clear into our OR. So I had a list of all the units. We take care of more than 70 units within these areas. So if you're unsure which OR to clear into, just shoot us an email and then we can clarify that for you. So just generally about PLD. So it is to reduce the adverse financial impact on military members, since the cost of living in Toronto is pretty high compared to the national average. The PLD rates are taxable, and for members who are entitled to PLD will get the full rate as long as your principal residence is located within a PLD area. For members who are jointly occupying a principal residence together with another member who is entitled to PLD, will only receive 75% of that rate. So I had if you just keep going to the next slide. One more. Yeah, and one more, please. All right, perfect. So here are the current Toronto PLD monthly rates. So Toronto is divided into 5 PLD zones. These rates are subject to change based on the Treasury Board. Next slide, please.
They haven't changed in 12 years though, right? So
yes, exactly, yeah. So hoping they'll go up higher eventually soon, but we'll see about that. So yeah, this is the description of the boundaries of the 5 areas. If you're unsure which area you actually belong to, just shoot us an email and we can definitely verify that for you guys. Next slide, please. Yep, so that's just the general outline of the map. You can actually Google this. So if you Google PLD zone Toronto, it'll give you the exact same image and also the boundaries itself. Next slide, please. So in order for us to initiate the PLD allowance process, we're going to need these required forms. So we do need the DND 2272, the DND 2516. We're also going to need a proof of unload date. So either a H&E packing slip, which can be provided by the moving company, or the H&E report, which is a report that you can get on the BGRS website. If you choose to move at your own expense, so not through a BGRS move, we do require a statutory declaration. And the last thing we need is a lease agreement or a proof of purchase. So if you have any questions regarding which area you're entitled to, or if you have any questions about the forms, you can contact us and we'll provide you with the forms and give you any assistance you require. Next slide, please.
is this another one past this?
Sorry?
This one here, the no entitlement?
So this one's, there should be one before that. There should be posting allowance.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, so posting allowance. So member with dependents are entitled to half-month pay for the rank and pay increment on the COS date. Members with dependents are entitled to full month pay based on your rank and pay increment. Service spouses without dependents, both will receive half-month pay. And for those with service spouses and dependents, the member with the higher monthly rate of pay will receive the full amount and the other person will receive half amount. Next, please. So here are just a list of conditions. If you are if you're in a position where you're following these conditions, you're not entitled to PL or posting allowance. So it's best to contact us to see if you actually qualify for a posting allowance. Next slide, please. Yeah, and these are just the documents required in order to initiate the posting allowance transaction. So we have the DND 2507, the posting allowance questionnaire, which we can provide you. You just got to email us first, and then we can give you all the forms itself and the posting message. Yeah, so here's our contact info. So we are located at Denison Armory. It's pretty hard to find here, but it's best to email us through our either the external or the internal mailbox. Again, if you have any questions regarding any pay-related questions or PLD or posting allowance, you can either call us or shoot us an email.
And quick question, Master Corporal Choi.
Yes.
Are you guys all in office now? Like, I
Yes, we
imagine. Okay, perfect.
So our doors are open, but we also can do it virtually. So depending on the member, if they feel comfortable just doing via email or they want to come in, just let us know beforehand so we can come get you at the front door and just walk you in.
Perfect. So Matthew's got a question, so I'm just gonna ask him to unmute and then, or he can add it in the chat, whatever he prefers. You can go ahead, Matthew.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I just got a couple questions over the last two slides. First one for the Master Corporal. I'm currently in Islamabad, Pakistan with Global Affairs Canada, and I found that a lot of the emails that I try to send to Forces accounts actually don't work from the mail system that we have here. I was wondering if there might be another option if I need to email you.
You can email me directly. So there's the two email addresses. So the internal one, which is usually for Forces accounts, and then we have the external, which should work for you guys. Because it's, if not, then I can provide you with another contact info. If you just give us a call, we can provide you with another email.
Yeah, I could figure out a way to do that. So,
so have you tried emailing the external mailbox before?
I've tried emailing other external mailboxes, and yeah, it's usually the group mailboxes that don't work. For for the medical team that I have to email like a specific person, and that one works. But when I email group medical or when I email group email boxes, that usually doesn't work.
Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to get to the chat here. So what I can do is I'm just gonna put my email address in. So if you shoot me an email, I can just assist you through that way.
Will I have access to this chat after this meeting is over, or?
Probably not, so you would want to write that down. But any information that needs to be like shared after the fact, presenters, if you have anything or contact information, if you forward it to me, then I will send it out to all the participants. We'll make sure that everybody's got the same shared information. Because I think the chat, once you close your Zoom call, then you lose the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, that'd be a lot easier for me.
Yeah.
If it could just come in the email, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll make sure you've got that for sure.
Thank you.
Right. All right. Are we good there then? We can move forward. Any other questions?
I do have one other question. I don't know if the Master Corporal can help me out with this one or not. So I'm recently promoted, and I have also been, there's incentives you get when you're with Global Affairs Canada. So the trouble I've been trying to figure out is what my monthly pay will be when I come back to Canada. Okay. And no one's been able to give me that answer. And the reason I'm asking is I'm actually looking at buying a condo when I get there. Right. So knowing what my monthly pay is definitely going to be something I'll need to know.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So we do letter of employment for all the members, but it's always based on the current time. So depending on your seal or the effective date of your promo, that's what we'll base it on.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, and your pay is when you come back to Canada, your pay is going to be based on what's in the CBIs. So the rates for NCMs is publicly known if you just Google it. So you can look at your pay rate there.
Yeah.
But if you shoot me an
Um,
email, then I can give you more specifics.
Yeah, that would be probably
Probably
great.
more ideal. Exactly.
Yeah, it's mostly like after taxes and everything is more the stuff I'm wondering.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're gonna have to. That's a case by case basis. It's always different. Yeah, just shoot us an email with all the questions and the details, and then I'll definitely get back to you with the answer.
Perfect.
All
Thank
right,
you.
great. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
All right. So stop sharing that one, and you are patient with me for one moment. I will get us back onto the MFRC slides here, and we will move to our next presenter. All right, so speaking of money and pay, we are thankful to have Martin Corrette with us here tonight. He has been very helpful for us here in Toronto in terms of giving our members and their families some support with financial counseling. And he's done some great workshops with us that you can also see on our YouTube channel around credit, budgeting, and saving. So I will hand it over to Martin to talk to us a little bit about budgeting in the GTA and what he can do to help you with that.
All right, thank you. So as mentioned, my name is Martin Corrette, financial counselor here with CISIP. And any move, especially, for coming out of the country or just within provinces, things can be very, very different. So the important part always comes down to our budgeting. So it's really, a lot of us unfortunately don't necessarily budget, but if you have some time to prepare yourself for such a move, now is the time to start. And it really comes down to figuring out our cost of living. So there's a few tools that can help with that. I will see here. Okay. If you stop sharing, I can share my screen. Yeah, and I'll show a couple of tools here that can be helpful. And I'll send those as well. So this first one here that I'll share is kind of a planning tool. So you can have your incomes. Now we break it down with deductions and everything. If you just know your net income, you can just plug that in. That's what matters in the end. You just don't want to double count. So just make sure you either put in your net income or gross, and then make sure you have all your deductions. It's pre-filled with most of the expenses that someone could have, and a lot of these you might not. What's nice about this is it makes us think about the little things that we often don't think about when we're creating a budget. So things like, videos, subscriptions, things like Netflix and so on, pet supplies. So they're things we often don't think about when we don't budget on a normal basis. So on a planning side for you, you've got your income. When you look at a lot of your regular expenses, depending on what you're coming from, a lot of those might not change. Your cell phone plan is not going to change. It's still the same cost. Groceries, okay, if we're talking Toronto, you can expect, an increase depending again on where you're coming from. You can start, find out what your current fuel usage is right now, and then depending on where you're looking to move, again, try to guesstimate, is it going to be more or less? And then this just calculates everything for you. It just then gives you your cost of living. So now you know what your existing is, or you're trying to plan out. When I work with members for a move, for example, we'll do all the normal expenses, and then we don't know yet if it's going to be rent, mortgage, if we're going to pay for utilities, but it tells us here's what's left for your housing. So we kind of reverse engineer it. So this is a useful tool for your cost of living to identify. Again, if you've got debt, that you can put that, and it will calculate everything for you, again, showing you, does it work? Because we all know being rent poor or mortgage poor is a difficult scenario to be in. So this really helps you just on the planning stage and trying to making sure that it works with the number. Until you get there, or once you've moved, then again, it's validating this information. And this is another spreadsheet that I'll share with everyone. This is our tracker. So it's just a way to look at reality. What exactly are we spending on things? And the way this is broken down is for people to do their tracking once a week. When we do our budgeting once a week, it's a lot quicker. On average, 5-10 minutes once a week and you're done. Again, this will auto-calculate everything for you and show you variances if you're spending more than you expected. So your first area is, here's what we think we spend, and then we discover our reality. And there's often some surprises, but that's normal, especially when we've never done this. But this really just lets us know and takes away perception and shows us reality of what are our spending habits, where our money is going. So then we can make decision on, is this okay for us? Or do we need to look at different options and different things? So these are very useful tools and very powerful tools that can really help as far as solidifying personal finance to make sure that we make the right decisions along the way. The other thing when moving, again, is remembering of all the partnerships that are available, especially depending on where you're coming from. So, all the CAF partnerships, so Bank of Montreal with no fee banking, the personnel for, home and auto insurance, that, again, not for everyone, but in general, they have really good pricing that is very beneficial for the members. So, and those are the type of things that we can help with. If you're not used to budgeting, you've never really done it or anything like that, that's what we're here for. You give us a call and more than happy to help you kind of figure some of that out and try to give any type of direction along the way that we can. As far as that goes, we're always available for that. But it's really about the budgeting and the tracking of expenses. It really starts with that to really know. And along the way, there's a little bit of guesswork, but it also helps you figure out what's left, what's available. So what kind of price range are we looking at when it comes to, the housing piece of things? So that's one way to reverse engineer it. So, and always happy to assist with that as well. Outside of that, unfortunately, there's no real magic trick to it. That's really just the most powerful tool there is just knowing that budgeting piece and remembering all the benefits, that you can take advantage of. Again, depending on where you're coming from, you might need a cell phone change. So again, through Rogers Connect, there's some really good pricing for members there as well. And there's a lot of those benefits that sometimes we forget about just because we don't work with them day to day. So again, it's about asking the question. Again, give us a call and we'll see what we can do and how we can assist in any way, shape, or form.
Great. Thank you so much, Martin, for your support with us tonight and also your ongoing support when our members here are trying to figure out how to set themselves up for success, and also when things go awry and they need a hand getting out of a hole or a tough situation. You've been really helpful.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe one that I'll add to, again, we work with all the supporter groups programs. So sometimes, paying first and last is just very difficult for some individuals. Well, we might have tools that we can use to help with that, to get you a small preventative loan to help you cover, first and last month, ease some of the burden of moving, and, give you some extra flexibility, for example. So there's a lot of different options that we're always more than happy to look at.
Yes, really good point. Thanks, Martin. All right, so now, Christine, I think you've got your slide, so I won't put mine back up because then I think that blocks you off. But now we have Christina from the Career Foundation, our fantastic employment partners.
Yes, thank you. I'm just, I hope you guys can see my screen, right?
We can, yes.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's get to the play mode there. So thank you. So again, my name is Christina. I'm actually a manager with the Career Foundation, and we're an employment service. So we actually help individuals with finding jobs and employment, skills development, training. And again, a lot of it is virtual and through our website. So I'm going to go through a lot of those in my slides right now, just so that you have some resources at your fingertips right now from our website. And then when you're ready to really launch into your careers and job search, you can always reach out to us for that more one-on-one coaching or job search assistance. So just a little bit about us. So the Career Foundation, we're a nonprofit organization that has been connecting job seekers and employers since 1988. So We've been doing this for over 30 years, so we do have quite a bit of knowledge related to labor market trends, employment, and supporting individuals with getting back to work. We are funded by Employment Ontario. So all of our services are offered at no cost. Because it is a government funded program, there's no fees for both our job seekers and our employers for using our services, which is a bonus for everybody. We offer customized job search assistance to diverse groups of people with unique employment needs, such as those that a lot of the military families experience. We currently have 7 locations in the GTHA, so that's the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, and we help thousands of people successfully accomplish their employment goals. So I'm going to go over how we do that in the next few slides, but that's just a quick synopsis of how we like to describe who we are and how we can support job seekers. So our locations, we do span from east to west Toronto. So on the slide right now, you'll see that we have Etobicoke, Weston, Lawrence, Central Toronto, and Scarborough. So again, it does span from east to west Toronto. Most of our services are virtual though right now. So if you want to book an appointment with an employment specialist, you can actually meet with them virtually or over the phone. But if you're looking for like an actual computer lab, or you want to meet with somebody live and in person, we do have these 5 resource centers in the community. But I do encourage you to call ahead to book that appointment just to ensure there's a staff member there waiting to see you. And again, you'll be supported that way. We're just rolling back in-person services this month as well. So it's important to make sure you book that appointment. In terms of what are the services that the Career Foundation offers, at a very high level, I'll just go through what these include. So access to online job boards, free online resources, virtual workshops and events, skill development opportunities, diverse employment programs, one-on-one coaching services, and of course, job search assistance. And again, I'll quickly go over a few of these just to show you how to find some of them on our website. So if you go to our website, which is www.careerfoundation.com, you're going to be able to find a lot of our resources at your fingertips. So the few I want to just quickly highlight for you. So on the top of the screen, when you're looking at our website, there's a tab that's called Services. And when you select Services, it's going to give you quite a few options or a drop-down menu. And the one that I'll just point out is our job board. So you can actually click on that, or right from the main page, it's called the Digital Job Center. So either from the drop-down menu with our services, or right on the main landing page where it says Digital Job Center, you can explore all of our employment opportunities. And these are positions specific to companies that we are working closely with. So it's not like an Indeed job board where there's thousands of positions. These are companies that have specifically given us their job orders, and we're helping them recruit or find candidates for those positions. So they're unique to the Career Foundation, these positions that we're recruiting for. In addition, on our website, and again, from the same drop-down menu, you can also explore our events and workshops, and these are all virtual right now. So just to give you an idea, it will actually bring you to a calendar, a monthly calendar, and there's a variety of topics there. So a lot of them we call them pre-employment skill development workshops. So if you want to learn about your resume or job search or the labor market, you can attend any of these workshops for free, and they're all virtual. So you just have to click on them, register yourself, and then similar to the Zoom platform that we're in right now, this is how we deliver the workshops. So it's really great because again, you can be anywhere to tap into these workshops right now and get yourself ready for the labor market or your job search.
Can I ask one question, Christina?
Absolutely.
Because it's coming to mind as we're talking about this. So it's fantastic that our families who haven't moved yet can attend these workshops. And are you able to support, as people are doing that sort of preparing for their job search before their move, are you able to serve members or family members who are not yet in Ontario if they're anticipating being here?
So for everything I'm covering up until this point, yes. So attending training, workshops, anything offered through our website, anyone can tap into without being into the Toronto area. It's only the last 2 or 3 slides where it actually is to register for our services so that we can actually do a job match or job placement with you. You would need to register and become a client with us. And unfortunately, you do have to be in Toronto or the GTA in order to access that piece. But everything in terms of like building up your skills or attending workshops, getting a resume done, all of those kind of, we'll call them pre-employment skill development stuff that you can do virtually, you can absolutely tap into right now before even moving to Toronto.
Fantastic, thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So again, going back to our website, so there's the Digital Learning Center. So as I was mentioning, you can have skill development opportunities as well. So we have, it's kind of an online resource of all kinds of training that people can tap into for free. So we have our e-learning library. So if you're looking for, resume templates, interview questions, just some kind of common resources that people are looking for when they're job searching. If you go to our e-learning library, which is the first one there in the drop-down menu, you can take a look at those. And then the rest on the list are different types of online training and resources. So the one I just want to quickly point out is the Accenture Learning Exchange portal. I like promoting it because it has over, I think we're close to 2,000 courses now on there. But you basically create an account for yourself. So you use your email address and you create your own, you'll get an email with a password, and then it will give you access to thousands of online courses. And this is everything from budgeting, financial literacy, customer service, all kinds of computer related courses. You want to improve your Excel or Microsoft, social media. So anything related to computers, so the digital literacy, as we call it. And there's even stuff on there about self-employment if you want to start your own business. So tons and tons of free virtual courses. And again, you don't have to be registered with us. They're completely open to the public on our website. And you can be doing them now before you even come to Toronto, just to help build up your resume or add some additional skills that you were looking to build before looking for work or before job searching. So that is a great resource I wanted to share. Also, the Career Foundation, we have diverse employment programs. So this, you would need to be in Toronto or in the GTA to access or register for these kind of customized employment services. But I just wanted to highlight so that in case, when you come to Toronto or you yourself know people that might be interested, we have programs for youth, so individuals under the age of 30. We have customized pre-employment training for them so they can get ready for those first-time jobs. We also have trades programs. So we partner with colleges to do pre-apprenticeship training to get into certain trades occupations. And then we also have disability programs. So people that have different disabilities or needs in the workplace, we work specifically with employers to help them get acclimatized or we call them job carves to accommodate their mental, some of it is mental health, some of it is physical disabilities, but a variety of support options. And again, we have, I think right now we're up to 10 different diverse programs. And if you go on our website, under specialized training, and again, you can find it on the services tab, the very first one there, job seeker services and programs. You can see the full list of all of our specialty programs, what are the eligibility criteria to get into those training programs, and what they're all about, which is really great. And I think the one thing most job seekers reach out to us for is what we call the one-on-one coaching services. And this is the piece where I'll pause and say, in order to be eligible for the next few slides, this is where you would actually need to be in the GTA or Toronto to register with us and become a client. to then get this more customized, personalized job search assistance. And what does that look like, or what does that involve? So of course, individualized job search advice and assistance. So, you know, learn how to prepare for this competitive Toronto job market, but also just give some advice about the labor market, how well certain jobs or industries are doing. If you need to change careers, you know, how can we give you advice or guidance on changing those careers, or pursuing a different sector with your transferable skills. So a lot of that advice is what you would get in those one-on-one coaching sessions. Referrals to employers. So we work with over 2,000 employers across the Toronto area. So by becoming a client and registering with us, you now have access to these companies, and we can advocate for you or connect you to our contacts. Job placement and job matching. So again, with those connections that we have, we can, you know, set up an interview for you or connect you to those positions, or you can attend our hiring events. So we also host a lot of job fairs and employment opportunities. So by being a client, you would have, of course, invitations to those events. Resume and cover letter support. Although there's tons of online resources, some people just need that, you know, one-on-one assistance and some guidance on how to actually develop and improve your resume and to become more marketable for the positions that you want to apply to. Self-marketing and interview coaching. So again, having a good resume is a big part of the self-marketing, but there's also things like LinkedIn and social media and going to networking events. So how do you self-market yourself and compete? And then of course, how do you nail the interviews, right? How do you really sell yourself and stand out from the crowd? And Toronto is pretty unique in the sense that it's very competitive. There's a lot of job seekers for one employment opportunity. So kind of really learning these tricks of standing out and, you know, having a good resume and polished interview skills is important. Career exploration and mentorship. So again, because of our employer connections, we can connect you with different industries just to explore. So maybe you're not sure if you want to pursue a certain type of occupation, we would be able to let you do what are called informational interviews, where you're just exploring an occupation to find out if it's a good fit for you. And then there's referrals to employment and community services. So just beyond employment, we can connect you to training, we can connect you to credential assessments. So if you are coming into the Toronto market with a foreign designation of some sort, and you need to figure out, how do I translate this into Canadian equivalency, or what type of education do I need to upgrade to the, you know, certain labor market trends that are requirements in those fields. These are all resources we can definitely connect you to. And then of course, skills upgrading and training opportunities. So this is most beneficial for people that want to change careers, and they might need to take a few little short-term courses in order to get those type of jobs, or short-term certifications in order to get those types of jobs. Or it could just be small things, like I mentioned already, like improving your computer skills or your customer service skills. So quite a few resources that we can connect you that way as well. And of course, also post-secondary education too, if you wanted to really go back to school full-time or part-time. So again, how do you get access to all of those services that I just mentioned? You do have to register and become a client with us. And again, on our website, there is it says job seeker registration, again, right on the main landing page as well. If you have any questions, or you're not sure, or you want to maybe just talk to somebody before pursuing that next stage of registration, you'll see right from the main page there that we do have a phone number, a 1-800 number, as well as an email address. So you're more than welcome to always reach out to us and just ask questions before you even come to Toronto. Maybe you're just looking for some resources or advice, so we can maybe give you some guidance that way. And then once you are in Toronto, then you can you know, pursue the registration and meet with us and become a full-time client. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all the registration pieces because I know we're mindful of time today, but the registration will ask you some eligibility and suitability questions just to make sure you qualify for the program and services. And then from there, you're given a one-on-one appointment with a career specialist who will guide you and work out a plan. So we actually create a service plan with you of how we're going to support you with your career goals when you book that appointment with the specialist. So that's my presentation. I try to cover a very lengthy one in about 15 minutes or so. But every second Friday of the month, if you look at our workshop calendar, we do have an extensive introduction to the Career Foundation workshop. So if you know other people or you want to just listen to the information again, you can always look at our workshop calendar and attend our information sessions on a regular basis.
Yeah, and so the only other thing to note in terms of employment is there are a few things. So Christina's been great in that she let me talk the ear off of all of her employment coaches. So they've had a good briefing on some military lifestyle, culture stuff. So they're familiar with some of our sort of norms and things that you might expect. And also what you can do if you like, so you can either register directly with the Career Foundation through these channels. You can also reach out to the Family Navigator at the Toronto Military Family Resource Center, and then we've got a referral process over. If you choose to do it that way through the MFRC, you'll also be connected with the piece that the Family Navigator adds is information about military specific resources. So stuff like the Military Employment Spousal Initiative with the casual work with the federal government, or other places that have reached out to us that are offering sort of preferential hiring for military families. So if you do that, then you get a once a month email with some of those information and updates. But the meat and potatoes, the real employment value comes with the Career Foundation, and they've just been able to support our clients really well. And I've had nothing but beaming reviews from the clients I've sent over there. So thank you so much, Christina.
Yeah, not a problem. And thank you for allowing me to speak and share our great resources. And again, you don't have to even become a client yet. There's so much online resources that we have at your fingertips, which is what we often like to promote, because I understand your circumstances and it's helpful to start learning before you even come to Toronto. So
yeah, start getting a bit of a idea of the landscape, right?
Definitely.
Was there any questions, or if anybody wants to pop anything in the chat, we can also ask questions after the recording's done too. All right, if we're all set, then I'm going to hand over to Joanne, who's going to help us with some of the fun administrative pieces of moving to Toronto. And I think we've got at least one family that's moving within Ontario, so they don't have to do all of this, but this is really good information for some of you other folks who are coming from elsewhere.
So in the GTA, it is, even though they're mandated by law that they have to immediately give military families an OHIP card, there can be quite difficult challenges. So the recommendations over the years that I give to members is go to a full service. It's a Service Ontario Center, and there's so many of them, but only the full service ones will you be able to get both your driver's license and OHIP cards. You'll see that there is a web link to that, but you can also call me so I can make sure that you are indeed going to one that's closest to you or most convenient with you. It's always a good idea if the military member can come with you and in uniform and with military ID. And if they're still resistant, ask to speak with the manager. And in some cases, they've even requested that they need a letter proving the military status. So we have a letter printed up already that we'll send you if they do ask for it. But it's it's lineups can be long in some areas, but the full service sites are the best sites to go to. And as I said, we can help you with any problems that you might encounter in terms of that. Now,
the thing I just realized, Joanne, is that we didn't write what OHIP is. It's Ontario Health
Insurance Program.
Program. There you go. Yeah. So this is your provincial healthcare card that you need.
Yes. Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
As
So yeah, they do lots of services there, but the most important ones for families moving in are the OHIP cards and driver's license. And that brings us neatly into the Calian Military Family Doctor Network. So this slide is just a little bit of history. I'm not going to read it all out to you, but I'll tell you in Toronto, the Toronto area, it's been a lifesaver for families. I have never heard from a family who didn't get a doctor. And if you don't like the doctor, you can just call them up and they will find you another doctor. But it is important wherever possible to have your OHIP card before you apply. And the application process is very easily. So we'll go to the next slide. So you can either come here and we can help you register. You can call them by phone. The phone number is here as well. Or you can download the family doctor registration form. So that link you'll get a copy of as well. The most important thing is it's always good to know where you're going to be living, because they will find a doctor based on your postal code. And you can request a female doctor, you can request a pediatrician, you can request French speaking. It's what you're most comfortable with. And they are, as I said, very, very good and very quick. Quite often it's within 1 or 2 days that you'll hear back. So, so that it's a great service. I know other cities have it, but in Toronto, it's been working well for a long time.
Yeah. So I can speak to that coming from the West Coast. We had it when they first launched this program and then they could not sustain it. They couldn't run it. So they just stopped running it there because the doctor shortage was too bad. And so families weren't able to get a doctor, but that was definitely like a really nice silver lining of coming to Toronto. I was able to get a doctor right away for myself and my children. And I even got to choose to have a female doctor, which is like unheard of coming from the West Coast. I know the East Coast is just as bad, if not worse. So that's one great thing is you'll have access to good healthcare here. All right. So now it's me. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about a relocation binder. As I have mentioned, I'm going to stop sharing here for a moment. As I mentioned before, I am a military spouse as well. And let's see if I can share this properly. So one thing I did when I moved to the GTA 3 years ago is before we did our house hunting trip, I created my, let's see if I can, might need to change my background here.
Put it right in front of your body.
Yeah. Yeah, so here's my relocation binder. And I found this very helpful as one spot to keep all of my documents for the move. I took it with me on my house hunting trip. I took it with me on the road trip across the country and to all of our appointments and registrations to the OHIP, like Service Ontario and everything. So up to you if you want to do it, but if you do this, I would suggest you get some of the pocket protectors. These ones are just regular ones, but you can get ones that have a little tab that fold over so your paperwork won't fall out. So what we did in our family is we had a little pocket for each family member. So for my husband, the member, I let him deal with his own stuff because he had tons of paperwork. For me, the vital documents that I had was I had a copy of the posting message. This can be really useful. A copy of the MPRR, which had myself and my children listed on it as well. That was helpful for a couple of things. Of course, my photo ID, my SIM card. I brought copies of my resume because of course I didn't have access to a printer while I was here. So I was old school and I dropped off paper copies at a couple of places, including the MFRC here. When I first came on the house hunting trip, I also brought, took a photocopy of our marriage license just because of I changed my name. So that was helpful to have all of those documents in one spot. For my children also, and each of them had their own vital documents folder. So copy of their, or actually I brought their actual birth certificate. This is also great if you're moving. You don't really want all of these vital documents going in a giant moving truck, right? So a little more secure to have it with you, keep it in your purse or the bag that you're using every day as you're traveling across. So vaccination records. One tip that I will let you know is that if you give your vaccination record for your children to your family doctor and to their school, you have not finished. In BC, that would be enough. They would report back to the health unit. Here in Toronto, you need to also file those documents with the health unit. I've got a link here. It'll be shared in the email. So there's 3 places you need to share those vaccine records. Otherwise, you get a scary email in like October saying your kid's going to get kicked out of school because they're not vaccinated from public health. Nobody needs that. So also, if you have copies of their last few report cards, that can be really helpful for the receiving school. That's probably more relevant when you actually do the full registration, but why not have it with you and it's all together for you. One thing to note is that if you are Catholic and if you would like to register for a Catholic school, you will need a baptismal record either for your child or yourself or your spouse, whoever is the Catholic member of your family that makes you eligible for Catholic schools. For housing on your HHT, Nicole, this is what I did. We had like printed off a bunch of the listings so we could like make notes and scribble on the side and like points for and against. So at the end of the first day when we'd see in like a whole bunch of properties, we could kind of be like, okay, what are we gonna, which one do we want? Look at the schools, try and figure all those things out because it's just so massive.
Any more than 3, no one remembers. And you start remembering different houses with kitchens that didn't exist in that house. So yeah, great idea.
Yeah. So, and then when you print off the listing, you've got some pictures to help jog your memory too, right? So I put in like our realtors information, all our contact information, the listings that we were going to look at. Once we had the lease, we asked our realtor, and of course he happily obliged to make us some copies of the lease so that we had them for my husband and I each had a couple of copies for school registration. You need them to get a library card. Like you're going to need that, the copy of your lease for everything. So that was that folder. And I thought it was so funny when you mentioned the pictures of your pets because that's exactly what we did. So we moved to the GTA with a giant golden doodle and he is the sweetest boy, totally quiet, senior, doesn't make any trouble, but we know that landlords prefer not to have pets. So in Dougal's folder, we had copies of his vaccination, we had his medical files, and because we were trying to secure a rental with our pet, we put a picture of our dog looking very sweet and harmless because he is. But I hadn't had that idea of getting references from previous landlords and the doggy daycare, but that's fantastic advice because it is, we found we had fewer options, even though they can't really discriminate. We had to pay a little bit more in order to secure a rental that would allow us to have a giant dog. So that piece. And now I will go back to my slides. Oh, and also you can use one of those pocket envelopes for your receipts. There are a lot of things that you are entitled to have paid for, stuff like the fees when you get a new driver's license. You can submit all that. So you'll want to hold on to all of those types of receipts of costs associated with moving. I can't speak to exactly every single thing because every year might be a little bit different, but important to hold on to the receipts. Okay. School registration. Sorry. So as I mentioned, there are a couple of different publicly funded boards for each district in the GTA. So there's public boards and Catholic boards, but the Catholic boards are publicly funded boards. That's not like a private school. That's if you're a Catholic family, you are able to access that schooling. Within those, there are also French and alternative programs you can apply for. So I've listed some of the boards here just so that you'll have them in the slides of your options. So depending on where you're going to be living, these are the boards that we tend to see our families live with. Toronto, of course, being right in Toronto. York is not far. It's, you know, a few kilometers up the road. And then Peel to the west and Durham sort of to the east. I'm getting that right. Peel's or Durham's to the east. 3 years, I've almost mastered the GTA. Okay. When you are registering for school, one thing that's great that's come out of the pandemic is a lot of this can be done online now too. So if possible, it might be nice for you to, you know, you probably want to start your HT or your DIT, like you need to secure your housing first because everything kind of comes after that, right? Once you've got your lease secured, then you can start to register for school and all of those other pieces. For school registration, you'll need birth certificate, any sort of passport and immigration documents, if that's relevant, proof of address. So they say 2. I registered my child with 1 because I just had the lease. And then we followed it up with like another piece of mail once we had, because of course we didn't have like a hydro bill when we were registering them in the spring before we had actually moved. So that might be a case by case basis, but actually, Nicole, do you have any tips on what you could use for a second?
Yeah, typically depending upon where you are, but in particular in Toronto Hydro, that you can sign up to start your Toronto Hydro account online at the date of your movement. And so it will show your name with the corresponding address and a date that is not today, but furthermore, you can screenshot that or print that or contact Toronto Hydro and they'll send you something. If you're not in Toronto, you have different hydro boards, might be a little bit different, but that's one that I've used a few times.
Okay, that's fantastic advice. Great tip. All right. Okay, so as I mentioned, you need to provide the vaccination information to the public health office as well as the school, and then obviously to your child's doctor or pediatrician. If you're starting kindergarten, there's like a longer form that your school will provide in terms of a development background thing. It's just a few pages to give the kindergarten teachers some information. Also worthwhile to note that in Ontario, school starts with junior kindergarten. So if your child is 4 by the end of the calendar year, if they're 4 by December 31st, then they're eligible for junior kindergarten, which is full day. And that is, it's optional, but I think most children do go to junior kindergarten here in Ontario. That's available to you, which may be more affordable also than putting your child in daycare, like they may be if you were in a different province. Okay, so in addition to all of that information, if you are looking to access Catholic school, you will need one of the following documents to register your child. So that's a lot of paperwork. Are there any questions about all of the paperwork admin stuff that Joanne and I just presented on? OHIP, all of that. All right. Well, we should probably move on to some fun stuff because you're probably all on information overload and tired. So I'll let Joanne take over here and share some of the fun stuff of Toronto. Once you get here, and maybe even on your HHT, you can take a little advantage of some of this.
So, and any questions from tonight, please don't hesitate to reach out. If something's bugging you because we didn't cover something, please just let us know and we'll try to answer it.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are so many things to do here. On this slide, I highlighted Legoland, great for kids and parents of all ages, and Wonderland. Pre-COVID, on July 1st, Wonderland would host a CAF day. So keep that in mind, and you can get in touch with me when that time gets closer, but I think it will probably go back to that. There's all kinds of festivals and major productions, and if you don't have a CF1 card, I would urge you to get one. I can help you do that too if you don't know how to do it. As well, the MFRC received discounts and free tickets to events throughout the year. One year we got 2,000 tickets to see Taylor Swift. Now, I'm not going to say that's going to happen did you go, Nicole? Yeah.
Yeah, it was so, I was just going to say the best thing I ever got. It was,
yeah.
it was
And we opened it
That's
up
amazing.
to all of the other MFRCs so that we made sure that people could go. Stay connected through our Facebook page and our newsletter, because that's where we'll post some of the things that are coming up. We've also gotten symphony tickets, and sometimes, well, the Maple Leafs has a CAF Appreciation Day too. So there's all, if we go to the next slide, I think I got some sports stuff there. Yeah. Not that I'm into the highest scoring Leaf player in a long time, but there he is. Anyhow, there's so many things to do here, whether you like sporting events, cultural events. So there's Tourism Toronto has an online, the link is there, and that will tell you things specific to Toronto. But because we're so close to so many other cities and towns, Attractions Ontario has a whole bunch of things in that as well. So it's really good to look at. And as I said before, the CF1 card will really help you with that.
Yeah, and there's so many places within a few hours drive too, right? Like, and if you're like me and you need to get out into nature, it's not actually that far. If you go a couple hours north, you can feel like you're totally in the wilderness.
And even more fun stuff. So the Ontario Regiment has a tank museum, and it's in Oshawa. It's about 3 blocks from my house. I could walk there. It is a very, very cool place to go. They do battle reenactments, some in the winter, some in the summer. There's tank rides for a fee. They had a great March break program this year that was, I think, $15 a day for kids or adults. And they would have different things to do. One of the coolest things about the Tank Museum is that the executive director finds Canadian tanks that were used in battles, and then he restores them. And then he calls the person who was actually driving the tank in battle and asks them if they'd like to come and see their tank again. And so he flies them out to Oshawa, and he picks them up at their hotel in the tank.
So cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Oshawa Remembrance Day celebration, they usually have anywhere from 60 to 80 tanks driving down the city streets. So it's a very cool place to go. The reenactments, people are in costumes, and I've had my picture taken with a German soldier. Please don't hate me. So that's a very fun thing to do, and it's not something most people know about, which is why I'm spending so much time on it. A lot of you will have heard of the Navy Family Bike Ride. So the one here in Toronto usually goes along the beautiful lake shore. So it's a great family or individual activity to spend a nice day outside. In pre-COVID times, the CAF had an exhibit at the CNE, the Canadian National Exhibit. And so that lasted the duration of the event, and there were all kinds of military vehicles, weapons. There was the cockpit of a jet. It's a very cool display. And the last 3 days every year of the exhibition is the Canadian International Air Show. So yeah, that was my favorite part of it. So
I love
but
Joanne.
Yeah, I know.
I love that you've hit all of our elements. We've got our Army, Navy, and Air Force represented here. Makes me so
I
happy.
didn't do that on purpose. It's just all the things that I like. So yeah, it's yeah. So during COVID, we really missed a lot of these things, and so we're really hoping that we can get back into them.
Yeah.
And I'll just toot PSP's horn a little here, because they have all kinds of great clubs. They have sailing clubs, skiing clubs, hockey teams, all sorts of other things that are really fun to get involved with. So that's all the fun I can think of.
There's lots of fun to be had, and a lot of stuff is starting to return. I'm going to a Blue Jays game because I've got to get that in before I leave. So there's a lot of fun stuff to do, and you can get like cheap seats that are $19, right? All right. So if you've got questions for us here at the MFRC, here's Joanne's contact information and the Family Navigators. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I'm going to share all this contact information with you in a follow-up email coming out tomorrow. And now I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And but before you go, we'll give you another chance to ask questions without the recording on, just in case anyone prefers that.